Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about skill for success in a global workplace. Our presentation is about a professional skill that people need in today's world and how this skill can help you work with people from different countries. We will also talk about what makes a successful global professional and what skill we need if we want to work around the world. To make this topic more practical, we are going to look at two different careers. First is where we'll talk about economics and international business, and then we will talk about industrial engineering. These careers are different, but what can be connected to a global workplace. So before talking about the specific careers, we need to understand what a global workplace is and why professional skills are important today. Let's start with a global workplace. Okay, a global workplace is a place where people can work with others from different countries and cultures. Today, companies are not always limited, yes, to one country. A company can have employees in Colombia and the United States, Germany, Japan, or many other countries because of these workers need a more professional knowledge. There are some needed skills that help them communicate and work with other people. One of the skill is communication. Communication is a very important because people need to explain their ideas clearly. It's also important to listen to other people and understand their opinions. Another important skill is teamwork. In a global workplace, yes, a person may work with a team where everyone has a different culture or way of thinking. English is also important because this is commonly used for international communication. People can use English in meetings, emails, presentations, and conversations with international clients or workers. But English is not only important in skill, cultural awareness is also important. This means understanding that people from different countries can have different traditions, behaviors, and ways of communicating. For example, sometimes is normal in Colombia, maybe different in another country. So working in a global environment means being able to communicate work in teams, use technology, and respect the cultural difference. Now that we understand the global workplace, we can look at the professional skill that people need today, and this is especially important in careers connected to international markets. And now, in economics and international business, this skill is are especially important. Professionals in this career can work with companies, markets, clients, and people from different countries. One important skill is communication. A professional needs to communicate ideas clearly, especially when working with international clients or company. Another important skill is English. English can be used to write emails, attend meetings, talk to international clients, and get information about international markets. Negotiations is also very important. International business companies need to reach agreements. A professional may negotiate prices, contracts, products, or service. For example, imagine that Colombian companies want to buy a product from a company in another country. The professional needs to communicate with that company and negotiate a agreement that is good on both sides. Another important skill is problem solving. International markets can change very quickly. Prices can change, consumers can change their preference, and companies can face unexpected problems because of this professional needs to find solutions. They also need data analysis. Data can help professionals understand markets, sale prices, consumers, and economic situations. Finally, we have adaptability. The global economy changes constantly, so professionals need to learn new things and adapt to new situations. So, for someone studying economics and international business professionals, its knowledge is important, but it's no. A successful professional also needs communication, English, negotiation, data analysis, problem solving, and adaptability. And this leads you to our next question. What Americans are professionals successful is a global environment?
Okay, what makes a global profession? To answer this question, we can say that a successful global professional needs more than technical knowledge. A person can be very good at economics or business, but if they cannot communicate or work with other people, it can be difficult to succeed. First, global professionals should be open minded. Being open minded means being willing to learn from other people and other cultures. This is very important in international business because we can work with people who think different from us. A professional should also be responsible. In business, people make important decisions, and these decisions can affect companies and other people. Another important characteristic is being adaptable. The global world changed very quickly. New technology, new markets, and new problems appear all the time. A professional needs to be ready to learn and change. Communication is also very important. A good communicator can explain ideas clearly, listen to others, and avoid misunderstandings. The teamwork is important too. Why? International projects usually involve different people working together, so professionals need to respect other opinions and cooperate. Finally, a global professional needs cultural awareness. This means understanding and respecting cultural difference. For example, when doing business with someone from another country, we should not assume that they communicate or negotiate in the same way that we do. We need to learn about the culture and respect their way of doing things. So, being a successful global professional is not only about what you know, it's also about how you communicate, how you work with others, and how you adapt. Now, we can take this idea one step further and ask what skills does an economics and international business professional needs to work around the world? If a person studies economics and international business and wants to work around the world, there are several important skills. The first one is obviously the English. English can help professionals to communicate with people from different countries. They can use it in meetings, emails, presentations, and maybe not negotiations. The second skill is communication. A professional needs to explain ideas clearly and also understand what other people are saying. Another important skill is obviously negotiation. International business involves agreements between companies and people, so professionals needs to know how to negotiate. Cultural awareness is also very important. When working with people from different countries, we need to understand that their culture may be different from ours. We also need a strong economic knowledge. Professionals need to understand markets, price, trade, companies, and economic change. Finally, we have digital skills. Technology is now part of almost every professional activity. Professionals can use digital tools to analyze information, communicate with clients, and understand markets. So, for economics and international business, working around the world requires a combination of knowledge and personal skills. It is not only about knowing how the economy works. It's also about understanding people, communicating with them, and adapting to different situations. Now, we have seen the global workspace from the perspective of economics and international business. But the skills needed in a global workplace can look very different depending on the professions. For example, industrial engineering has a different focus. And now Brittany is going to explain what these skills look like in his career.
Thank you. Now I am going to talk about the same global workplace, but from the perspective of industrial engineering. Industrial engineering is mainly focused on improved processes and systems. Industrial engineers can work with production, quality logistics, cost, technology, and many other areas. Because of this, one of the most important skills for industrial engineers is problem solving. Industrial engineers need to identify problems and find better ways to do things. For example, imagine a company that takes too much time to produce a product. The industrial engineer can study the process and try to find the reason for the problem. Then, the engineer can create a solution to reduce the production time. Another important skill is data analysis. Industrial engineers use data to understand what is happening in a process. Data can help them make better decisions. Technology is also very important. Today, industrial engineers can use programs such as Excel, SAP, Python, and simulation software. Many technical manuals and tutorials for these tools are in English. Because of this, English can also be useful in industrial engineering. Communication is another important skill. An engineer needs to explain technical information to managers, workers, and other teams. Sometimes the engineer understands a technical problem, but other people may not understand it. So the engineers need to explain the problem in a simple way. Teamwork is also important because industrial engineers usually work with different departments. Finally, industrial engineers need to be adaptable. Technology and production systems are always changing, so engineers need to continue learning. These skills help an industrial engineer work successfully today. But what makes an industrial engineer successful global professional? A successful industrial engineer needs several characteristics. First, an industrial engineer should be analytical. This means being able to look at information and understand what is happening. Engineers work with data, processes, cost, time, and many other types of information. They also need to be creative. Creativity is important because sometimes there is not only the solution to a problem, and engineers need to think about different possibilities and find a better solutions. Organization is also important. Industrial engineers can work with projects, production plans, schedules, and many different activities. They need to organize their work and manage their time. Of course, problem solving is one of the most important skills. An engineer should not only identify a problem, the engineer should also try to find solution. Communication is important too, and an engineer can have a very good idea, but if they cannot explain it to other people, the idea may not be used successful. Teamwork is also necessary. Industrial engineers do not work alone all the time. They can work with managers, operators, technicians, suppliers, and other engineers. Finally, a global industrial engineers need to be adaptable. Companies around the world are using new technologies, automation, artificial intelligence, and new ways of working. Engineers need to learn and adapt to this change. If an industrial engineers want to work around the world, English can also be very useful. English can help with technical manuals, software, international meetings, conference, and communication with international teams. So the skills of an industrial engineers are not only technical, they also include communication, teamwork, adaptability, and the ability to learn. After looking at both careers separately, we can now return to our main question. What does it really take to be successful in today's global workplace? First, for economic and international business, some one of the most important skills are communication, English negotiation, cultural awareness, and adaptability. These skills help professionals understand international markets, communicate with people from different countries, and make a good business decisions. For industrial engineering, the most important skills are problem solving, data analyzing, technology, communication, and teamwork. These skills help engineers improve processes, make decisions, work with different teams, and use new technologies. Although the two careers are different, we can see some skills that are important for both. We believe that the three most important skills are communication, adaptability, and problem solving. Communication is important because professionals need to explain their ideas and work with other people. Adaptability is important because the world of work is changing all the time. New technologies, new markets, and new ways of working are appearing every day. And problem solving is important because professionals will always face changes and the need to find good solutions. English is also an important skill, especially for people who want to work internationally. However, English by itself is not enough. A successful professionals need a combination of professional knowledge and soft skills. So, our conclusion is that there is not just one skill that make a person successful. Success comes from combining knowledge, communication, adaptability, and problem-solving skills. This skill can help us become better professionals and prepare us to work in a global world. Thank you for listening.